Shalom. Call Haloyam La Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachakodash. Brakatah Yahweh, Brakatah Yahweh Shai, Brakatah Rachakodash Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachakodash. Shalom and double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone. Shalom to the elder bishops and the elders and the Akim and the Aquat of the hopeful elect. Shalom. Just want to go into a quick video, follow up part 2 to Daniel chapter 7 breakdown. In part 1, we went over the first beast, the vision that Most High gave Daniel, of the four beasts. The first beast being the Babylonian Assyrian Empire, and broke down how, the Assyrians were ruling at the time when the Most High raised up Nebuchadnezzar to take down the Assyrians. Because the Assyrians were punished for taking down the northern kingdom Israelites, the lost 10 tribes, so-called Latinos, Native American Indians, right? And so the Assyrians took the northern kingdom out of the promised land that they were given to by the Heavenly Father, right? Given by the Heavenly Father. And then the Most High uses nations to judge nations. It's not, the Most High never comes down. He just stirs up spirits upon men, the ruler class, the rulers of society that he sets up, right? And then put that spirit of war in them to go ahead and take down the nation that he wants to judge. And the Most High used the Assyrians to judge his chosen his chosen nation, the northern kingdom. And so the Most High rose up Nebuchadnezzar to take down the Assyrians and then absorb them into their Babylonian empire, and then use the Babylonians to take down the southern kingdom, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, so-called blacks, so-called Jamaicans and Haitians. Those are over there in the Caribbean islands, the darker melanated tribes, right? Because as we know, scriptures say that Ephraim is a cake not turned, and that means that Ephraim, he's lighter complected, and that's the so-called Latinos, Puerto Ricans and so-called Mexicans and other, Hispanic, Dominicans, so forth and so on, because they also go by Afro-Latino. There's a thing within the Latin, community, Afro-Latinos, because they have our same hair texture. Look at baseball players like David Ortiz, and like boxers like Sugar Shane Mosley, and like Sammy Sosa, these guys, Alex Rodriguez, these guys are Israelites. They're in the Northern Kingdom. They're lighter complected, right? And a lot of them are darker complected too. Because we're a speckled bird, many different shades of brown. So yeah, that's a spirit right there. I wasn't even intending to speak on that. But okay, so we'll start at verse 5 in part 2 of Daniel chapter 7. It says, and behold, another beast, another beast, a second, like to a bear. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So you see, it says there's ribs in its mouth, and not just in its mouth, but between the teeth. So that lets you know, when you're eating a whole lot of food, you really getting down on it. A whole bunch of food, you devouring the food real good. And the food, you chomping down real good, and the food gets stuck in your teeth. That's just that shows how much, how intense, and how much, how many people this nation here devoured, because the Most High said it had 3 ribs in its mouth. So it's like if you take a bite of food before you start chewing, that's in your mouth, right? And then not only in the mouth but in the teeth. So it shows just how much devouring and destruction and conquering this nation here did. So it says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear. So we all know what nation, because you can do a simple Google search and see what nation ruled after Babylon, right? It was the Persians, the Medo Persian Empire. And so it lets you know, and that's the Medes, because the Medes took over first. They're the ones that began the joint rulership of the Medo Persian Empire. They began it, but then the Persians, they got more powerful in the union, the joint rulership, and took over for the Medes. But the Medes were always, part of it. So the Medes represents the bear. The landmass for the Medes today is in North Asia. The landmass of the Russians. So let's see. So let's see. So it says it raised itself up on one side. So that's going to the Medes, because the Most High had the Medes take down the Babylonians, and they was in they was in partnership with the Persians, but the Medes were the head of that taking over the Babylonian captivity, of the Babylonian ruler, dominion or kingdom. See, it said devour much flesh. The Most High letting you know that what's much flesh, that means many people. So at that time in the point in history, that was the largest landmass of that was the largest kingdom as far as territory in the history of in the existence of mankind. To that point, it was a very large kingdom. It spanned a lot of land, because when you look at Russia, that's the old land. When you look at that on the map, it's a very massive, very large landmass. And then it had other areas it conquered all throughout Asia and over there in Europe as well. Europe is basically Western Asia, because Europe is actually on the same continental plate, continental landmass connected to Russia and Asia. All of that's Asia. The so-called white man just changed its names and borders, but it's all the same landmass. So Europe is actually Western, is modern Western Medo-Persian Empire land territory. So let's see. Okay, where am I gonna go from there? Okay. All right, let's go and get some of these screenshots that I have. It's the Medo-Persian Empire, aka Achaemenid Empire. So when you look at it, it says the Achaemenid Empire, or Achaemenian Empire, also known as the Persian Empire or First Persian Empire, Old Persian, the empire or the kingdom, was an Iranian empire. You see, they show you right there who the modern day Persians are. The Iranians, Iran, and they're allies with the Bear Russia. You see, the Medo-Persian, and that's why the Iranian union with the Russians is so strong. Those are the top two, because the Russians and modern day Iran, the Iranians, that's modern day Medo-Persians, and they were closely unified and ancient in these times in Daniel chapter 7 and 5. The ancient Medes and Persians in unison, and they have a new modern Achaemenid Empire rulership. Like a joint union, right? Like America and NATO, the American and European Union are unified. The modern Medes and modern Persians, the modern Medes, the Russians, the modern Persians, are the Iranians. And most are gonna raise up the bear again, the Medes, the Russia, to take down modern Babylon, which is America. Ancient Babylon was the Nebuchadnezzar era of that empire, and then America is the modern Babylon, and that's very heavy, right? Same way the Medes took down the Babylonians in this old time here, and became the Achaemenid Empire, aka the Medo-Persian Empire. It's the same way the Medes gonna take down the Babylonians these times. There's nothing new under the sun, right? Pretty heavy. in the spirit, in the name of Yahweh Shai. So it says the kingdom was an Iranian empire founded by Cyrus the Great, so-called great, of the Achaemenid dynasty in 550 BC. Based in that right there, that lesson right there, and it says in BC, they try to say that the Most High don't exist or His Son, right? The so-called white race, that these blasphemous, profane atheists, right, and blasphemers. But Earth's history is dated around the birth, the incoming birth, the impending birth of the Messiah, because that BC means before Christ. That's not His name. Is that would be BC. Christ means anointed. Mashiach means anointed. And so continuing on, based in modern day Iran. You see. So the Persians is modern day Iran. That's very heavy there. It was the largest empire by that point in history. See, that's why it says devour. That's why the Most High say devour much flesh, because they were going to, cover a lot of land, and the empire was going to cover a vast amount, the most land in the history of mankind at that point. Until that point, it was the largest empire by that point in history, spanning a total of 5.5 million square kilometers, 2.1 square miles. 2.1 million square miles. That's a lot of land. The empire spanned from the Balkans and Egypt in the west, most of West Asia. See, they don't say Europe, they say West Asia. So when you look at the map, when you go to the direction, when you look at Asia, and then what direction is west to the left? Over there to the left is Europe. So they cover Europe as well. West Asia, the majority of Central Asia, that's over there, about Russia, on down China and all that area over there as well. Most of West Asia, the majority of Central Asia to the northeast, and the Indus Valley of South Asia to the southeast. So see all those different directions, right? Achaemenid Empire, the Achaemenid Empire, or Achaemenian Empire, also known as the Persian Empire or First Persian Empire, was that right? Okay, we read that pretty much. Okay. So that's showing that's the map, showing the land mass, all of that, the vast amount of land. See all that green, and that's the green showed Cyrus Cyrus, his rulership. He was like Nebuchadnezzar was the greatest king that ruled Babylon. Cyrus was the greatest Persian king when they took over. Out of the whole Medo-Persian kings in that empire, Cyrus the so-called great. He was the greatest one, ruler of that empire. So Medo-Persian Empire says they were called Persians. So what was the Medo-Persian Empire? They were called Persians. At first, they were controlled by the Medes. See, that's right there when we just read that here, verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear. That's the Medes. And it raised up itself on one side. So I want to get that. It raised itself up on one side. And that's the Medes beginning. And it lets you know right there. It says at first they were controlled by the Medes. And that's that ruler raised up on one side first. It was a joint rulership, and they ruled first. By the Medes, who had helped Nebuchadnezzar overthrow the Assyrians. At first, they was in a bit of an alliance with Babylon to overthrow the Assyrians. But then, they eventually rose up against the Babylonians. And that's funny because, how when after the Cold War of America and Russia, when the Soviet Union was defeated and got broken up, right? And one of those areas became Ukraine. That got broken up from the old Soviet Union, Union. And so the Medes are cool with the modern day. The modern day Medes, Russians became cool with the modern day Babylonians, America. in the economic, just joint, like a peace treaty, basically like an economic peace union for a while, and working together, economically. But now the Most High stirred up those Medes again. Ezekiel 38, right? Put hooks in his jaws and turned them back. That's why what started happening. Those very peculiar events happened a few years back with Russia, and the gas line got destroyed, and it turned out it was Biden that did it, right? But and Putin wanting to take back Ukraine, stirring them up, stirring them back up to that old Soviet Union war spirit, right? So very, very, it's the Most High working all of this, the ultimate, director and orchestrator of existence and rulerships, and the falling of kingdoms and the rising up of other ones. But the Most High is doing this all now to rise up the Israelites in the Great Awakening, to have these heathen destroy themselves. Yahushua shall return and finish off the Medes, the Russians, and the Iranians, the Persians, and the rest of the heathen, and then to usher in the kingdom of heaven. At first, they were controlled by the Medes, who had helped Nebuchadnezzar overthrow the Assyrians. Then the Persians became a dominant force. See, that's the Medes began the rulership of the Medo-Persian Empire, but the Persians took over, right? And they were at the head now, and they were greater. The Persians had the greater era of rulership in that Persian and Medo-Persian joint rulership. Then the Persians became a dominant force, and the Medo-Persian Empire was established. By the time the ruling house of Darius I began, the Medes had lost their importance. So Darius was the so like the Medes, they were not that, they were weaker. They became weaker, and that's all biblical prophecy. As we were going to read about the second horn, it was higher than the first horn because it was a two-horn joint rulership of two nations. But the Medes just wasn't too that significant, after they had began the rulership. Let's see. Anything else? Okay. So it says the Persian Empire. We just read a little bit of this. The highlighted part in purple. They were called the Persians. We'll start at the top. In the hills of what is known today as Iran. You see, Persian Empire directly linked to Iran. You can't dispute that. It's known today. The historical scholars know this. In the hills of what is known today as Iran, a group of shepherds were united by an aggressive leader named Cyrus. They were called Persians. At first, they were controlled by the Medes. See, that's their horn that rose itself up first, and then the Persians followed and became greater in that rulership, in that joint rulership. By the Medes, who had helped Nebuchadnezzar overthrow the Assyrians, then the Persians became a dominant force. Okay, I just read. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure I had everything all covered thoroughly. So, all right. Now we understand that what's happening here. But this is the prophecy, and this is very powerful and heavy. The prophecies. Blessed is he that got to be occupied in these prophecies. The spirit of the Messiah Yahweh Shai is the spirit of prophecy. Excuse me. Verse 5. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear. That's the Medes that rose up first. That started the rulership, and the Persians followed with them. And it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between its had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. And we went into what that means, all that land that they took over, right? All of Asia, pretty much, majority of Asia, Western Asia, which is West Asia, aka Europe. And it had 3 ribs. And what does that 3 ribs mean? I think that's coming up next here. Real quick, let's get Ezra. chapter 1 and verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, you see, the Most High don't call him the great. Most High don't have no respect of men like these wicked heathen do. They want to praise heathen. Nah, they just men, and all of us are men. We're from the dust. We're nothing. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of the Lord Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, so that the prophecy be fulfilled. And Yahweh was in the spirit of Yahweh, because Yahweh always said what this needs to happen so this can be fulfilled. That is written, right? It was all about the prophecies. His spirit was all about prophecy and fulfilling the prophecies. And we're in a spirit of prophecy as well, in the name of Yahweh. That the word of the Lord Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled. The Lord Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia. See, when men do things, go to war, it's the Most High in the background, that sent those spirits to stir their hearts up to go into that war. Like, that's why Putin is doing what he's doing right now in Russia, because it's all of the Heavenly Father. It's like it. So that the word of the Lord Yahweh might, by the mouth of Jeremiah, might be fulfilled. The Lord Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, the Lord Most High Power Yahweh of heaven hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth. See, that's why the other heathen nations are going to be preserved and be ruled over with the rod of iron, because they have the ability to understand and acknowledge the Heavenly Father and give him his proper respect, and understand that the Heavenly Father does exist, and he's the one that sets up everything, right? The heathen have been so destroyed now, under the cave beast, that they're in that same vibration of blasphemy and not acknowledging the Heavenly Father. So that's why the so-called white race, they will be judged completely, as in the Zondervan Bible Dictionary says that they're going to be completely wiped out, because they are so blasphemous and profane against the Heavenly Father. And we know the penalty is complete death to those that blaspheme the Heavenly Father, right? And the Spirit, so that's what they do. That's what the so-called white race do all day, every day. Chiefly the leaders, and they spread that vibration to their people, to their citizens, and ignorant people follow other nations follow suit to their own destruction. It says, and he hath charged me to build him. Okay, the Lord, the Most High Power Yahweh of heaven, hath given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he hath charged me to build him an house at Jerusalem, which is in Judah. So just go into Cyrus' account real quick. The Most High put the spirit on him to restore his kingdom, and we know the story. Cyrus made a proclamation throughout his king, all of his vast kingdom he had, right, that the Jews can return back to the homeland to restore the temple and the streets and walls. But other heathen nations tried to halt that attempt, and that shows you that the heathen have never loved Israel, always want to stop us from connecting back to our Heavenly Father. And then it's the same thing today. The little hats are respected by the heathen now, and that proves that they're not. That right there proves as well that they're not the true people of the Most High, because who are hated, and when they call themselves Jews and Israelites, everyone gets mad and angry, just like in these accounts in the Bible in the ancient times. So that's another way to know who the Israelites are, because the true people that are Israelites that claim their heritage, their true proper heritage, there's pushback, but no one pushes back on the little hats over there, the Ish people, because they're not of the Most High, they're of Satan, and look at all of their deeds, and their fruits is rotten. So so many nuggets to attain when in the spirit. So let's see, Daniel 5. Okay, let's see. Let me get Daniel 5 and 28. Move that out the way. Daniel 5 and 28. Okay. Daniel 5:28. Paris, thy kingdom is divided. That's a Hebrew word, probably parash. Let me look. I ain't look. Check that word out. Let me see. It's probably parash. But let's see. Let's see. Oh, not parash. Parasha. Parash. Probably parash. More than likely parash. Okay. Parash, thy kingdom is divided and given to the Medes and Persians. And real quick, let me see, get that word parash one more time. It means, parash means to break in two, divide. It's a unit of measure and weight. So that's what the Most High is going to break his kingdom, break the Babylonian kingdom in two. That's what it means, divide. So that's a Hebrew word that means that. So parash, the Hebrew word there, and then the Most High broke down what it means. The definition of it, thy kingdom is divided, broken in two, and given to the Medes and Persians. See, that's what parash means, to break in two. And that's part of that prophecy, the two horns ruling, because the Babylonian captivity got, I keep saying back captivity, always thinking about, us in captivity, Babylonian captivity. We're in Babylonian captivity right now in Babylon the Great. But, so it always comes out first. But the Babylonian kingdom, it was broken in two and given to the joint rulership of the Medes and Persians. That's what that meant. That was that prophecy there. And what happened? The Medes, he rose up first, and then the Persians followed suit, and then they got greater within that rulership and that union with the Medes. So it was very heavy to meditate and process and study and think upon. So see verse 29. Then commanded Belshazzar, and they clothed Daniel with scarlet and put a chain of gold about his neck. So, you can't try to, kiss up to the men of the Lord at that point, It's the Most High gave them this is where they get that phrase, the writing is on the wall. All of these Hebrew words right here, mene, tekel, and Paris, and 26, 27, 28. The writing was on the wall. That big hand wrote on the wall their judgment, and then Belshazzar, wicked behind, he tried to go ahead and now thinking that putting this stuff on Daniel is going to some kind of way extend his kingdom, or by kissing up to the men of the Lord. That's why seek the Most High, seek the kingdom of heaven, and all things shall be added unto you. So suffer these people while walking down the straight and narrow, and you'll be rewarded by the Heavenly Father at the end and receive everything. The Most High is far greater than anything in this realm, and He'll bless you with everything once you get on His good, pretty much get on His good side, right? By seeking Him in the name of Yahushua. And put a chain of gold about his neck, and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. That show you just how great, seeking the Most High is, because you receive that pure spirit from the Heavenly Father, and that spiritual woman of wisdom, that spirit of wisdom to be with you. And because wisdom establishes a city, wisdom establishes a country. So people, they seek out their riches, but they still filthy and defiled from within. But they might be carnally, financially rich, but their spirit is still broke, dead poor, right? Dead, broken, poor. So verse 30, and that night was Belshazzar, the king of the Chaldeans, slain. See, Belshazzar, he was the last king of the Babylonian Empire when the Medes took over. In verse 31, and Darius the Median aka the Mede, took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So he was 62 years old when Darius the Mede, that's the prophecy fulfilled in Daniel 7 and 5. In verse 5 in the second line, and it raised itself up on one side. You see, that was Darius the Mede that got raised up on one side, that began the Medes, beginning that joint rulership with the Persians, modern day Iranians, as we read that. the historical account, because the Bible is history, and then there's outside historical scholars as well that you can find context to verify it as well, further verify it. But we believe in the Spirit already. And just added confirmation when you see outside sources confirming it. It's beautiful. It lets you know that you definitely, the Most High dealing with you to be able to understand all this and through the Holy Scriptures first and foremost. Okay. So let's see, Daniel 8 and verse 2. So it says, and I saw in verse 2 here, and I saw in a vision. We'll read verse 1. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, this was the end of the Babylonian Empire right here. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. Verse 2. And I saw in a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan, Shushan, in the palace, which is in the province of Elam. You see, that's Elamites, so-called East Indians. That's over there in the far east over there. And I saw in a vision, and I was by the river Ulai. Verse 3. Then I lifted up mine eyes and saw, and behold, behold means looked. There stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns. See, these 2 horns is the Medes and Persians. That's what it's representing. They're 2 horns on one animal. That's the joint rulership of the Medo-Persian Empire. There stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high. They both were high, but it says, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. So let you know the second horn was higher than that first horn, and it came up last. So that's going to the Medes. They were great too. They both were high, but the second horn, the other horn, was taller, was greater than the first horn. So Darius the Medes that ruled first, and then the Persians took over, and they were even greater, than the Medes. And we read that the Medes became insignificant, right? But they were still, tagging along pretty much like in the Persian Empire, ruling with them still. So it said, that's prophecy, man. It's real heavy. Daniel 7 and 5. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side. That's the Medes. Rose itself up on one side, the bear. So Medes and the bears, or the bear and the Medes, one and the same. And that's that feet of a bear, of that body of that 4th beast. Meaning what? The Medes, the modern Medes, aka Russians, are going to take over. Are going to destroy modern Babylon. It says, raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So, that devour much flesh. Oh, well, let's see. Devour much flesh. Daniel 8 and 4. And I saw the ram pushing westward. And this is also the, see, also in Daniel 7 and 5, it says what? 3 ribs. And what's this 3 ribs? Why is it? It's a specific number for a reason. 3 ribs. And ribs is from men, right? Meaning 3 men, men are being devoured. But not 3 men. This is the 3 it's talking about. Daniel 8 and 4. I saw the ram pushing westward, 1 rib, and northward, the 2nd rib, and southward, the 3rd rib, because the Medo-Persian Empire it's over far east. So they come. It's 4 directions in the earth, right? North, south, east, and west. That's 4. But the Persian Empire, Medo-Persian Empire was eastward. So they coming from the east, pushing north, west, and south. So that's the 3 ribs. The three ribs, aka 3 directions, that the Medo-Persian Empire pushed to take over and devour much flesh, meaning taking down all those rulerships. Okay, so it says, verse 4 again, and I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, that no so that no beasts might stand before him, meaning other heathen nations. So beasts and men and heathen nations are one and the same, because they're beasts because they live beastly, because they don't have the commandments of the Most High to elevate them in the spirit. So they're not elevated spiritually. They're just men. They're to be ruled over with a rod of iron, and are to be taught how to rule, not taught how to rule, but taught how to serve the Heavenly Father, and to live in peace and to keep His commandments, right? When we force them and show them the way, because mankind, their direction is going to be given from the right hand side of the Israelites under Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, or they're going to be led by Satan under the so-called white race, because they push everything of Satan. That's why society is all messed up, because they're following the ways of the so-called white man, who coming is after the working of Satan. So that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. So became a great, large, vast nation, covering a lot of square miles, a lot of mileage, that land. So that's what that's going into, the directions. So that's the breakdown of verse 5 right there. That's the breakdown of the second beast. So there's quite a bit, So that's just one verse. So I'm gonna go ahead and just stop it there. Continue part 3 with the third beast, next, and part 3 in the next lesson. And Lord willing, that could be edifying as well. So with that being said, I hope this video is edifying in the spirit. In the name of Yahweh Shai, the water to the Rachakodash Bashem, Yahweh Shai for another video. Until the next video, I say, Shalom.